There is a nation mentioned in the ancient Gaze manuscripts that sounds terrifyingly like modern-day America. But you won't hear this in any Sunday service. The Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Bible, the oldest and most complete canon on earth, contains a prophecy that Western pastors have quietly ignored for centuries. It sits right there in Isaiah 18, written in the same ancient language the Ethiopian church still uses today. Gaze manuscripts preserved in monasteries carved into cliffs describe a powerful nation beyond the rivers of Cush, a land shadowed with wings, a people tall and smooth-skinned, whose territory is divided by rivers. This is not poetic metaphor. This is a targeted warning. Ethiopian scholars have read these verses the same way for over 1600 years. They do not see them as ancient history. They see them as a direct message about a great end-time power that rises across the oceans, a nation that sends ambassadors in swift vessels, a people feared from their beginning, whose land is sliced apart by mighty rivers. Sound familiar? While American pulpits stay silent, the Ethiopian canon treats Isaiah 18 as active prophecy. It describes a superpower that will face sudden pruning at the exact moment the world needs it most. And the ancient text is chillingly precise about how that pruning will happen. The Gaze manuscripts do not speak in riddles. They speak with authority. And what they say about this nation is not comforting. Open Isaiah 18 with me right now. Here is the prophecy exactly as preserved in the ancient Gaze manuscripts. Woe to the land shadowing with wings, which is beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, that sendeth ambassadors by the sea, even in vessels of bulrushes upon the waters, saying, Go, ye swift messengers, to a nation tall and smooth, to a people terrible from their beginning hitherto, a nation meted out and trodden down, whose land the rivers have spoiled. Ethiopian scholars, studying these verses in their original Gaze for over 1,600 years, are direct in their interpretation. Land shadowing with wings. They identify this as the emblem of the eagle, the central symbol of a future global superpower. Beyond the rivers of Cush, a powerful nation rising far across the oceans, outside the African continent. A nation tall and smooth, a people notable for their height and smooth skin. Terrible from their beginning, a young nation that became feared and dominant almost from its founding. Whose land the rivers have spoiled, a vast territory physically divided by massive river systems. This is not vague poetry to the Ethiopian tradition. It is a precise profile of one specific end-time power. Then the prophecy shifts to judgment. For the harvest, when the bud is perfect and the sour grape is ripening in the flower, he shall both cut off the sprigs with pruning hooks, and take away and cut down the branches. They shall be left together unto the fowls of the mountains, and to the beasts of the earth. The Ethiopian Orthodox scholars call this the pruning, a sudden public cutting down of this mighty nation at the exact moment it reaches the peak of its strength and global influence. They are unanimous on one point. Isaiah 18 was never fulfilled in ancient times. It points forward to a great nation beyond the rivers of Cush, the land shadowed with wings, that will face visible divine pruning before the eyes of the world. This is the section Western pastors skip. Now comes the warning that has been preserved in Ethiopian monasteries for centuries. The prophecy does not end with identification. It moves directly into judgment. For the harvest, when the bud is perfect and the sour grape is ripening in the flower, he shall both cut off the sprigs with pruning hooks and take away and cut down the branches. They shall be left together unto the fowls of the mountains and to the beasts of the earth, and the fowls shall summer upon them, and all the beasts of the earth shall winter upon them. Ethiopian Orthodox scholars are uncompromising in their reading of these verses. They call this moment the pruning, a deliberate surgical act of divine judgment. This is not gentle discipline. This is a sudden cutting back of a superpower at the very peak of its power, right when its influence, wealth, and global dominance appear unstoppable. The ancient Gaze commentaries describe it as happening publicly, before the eyes of every nation, a visible humbling of the land shadowed with wings. They emphasize three chilling details. The pruning comes before the harvest, at the moment the nation looks strongest and most ripe. It is swift and violent, branches cut down and left exposed. The entire world will witness the aftermath. For over 1,600 years, Ethiopian tradition has taught that Isaiah 18 is not ancient history. It is a live warning aimed at a great end-time nation beyond the rivers of Cush, the one whose symbol is the eagle. This is why the prophecy has remained largely untouched in American pulpits. The implications are too direct, the warning too clear. The Ethiopian canon does not soften the message. It presents it as fact. The great nation will be pruned in plain sight, and according to the timeline held by their scholars, that moment is drawing near. We are now stepping into the part of this prophecy that lines up with events unfolding on the news right now. Ethiopian scholars who have studied the Ge'ez manuscripts for generations point to a specific sequence. The great nation shadowed with wings reaches the height of its global power. Its influence spreads across every continent. Its ambassadors move like lightning over the waters. And then, right when its fruit appears perfect, the pruning begins. Look at the timeline they describe. This is not a vague someday warning. The ancient commentaries speak of a period when the nation would be internally divided, when its rivers, symbolic and literal, would no longer unite but fracture the land, when its global reach would provoke envy and opposition from many nations, when its strength would suddenly appear vulnerable in ways no one expected. Watch what is happening today. A nation once known for unity, now torn apart by deep internal divisions, economic and social fractures that grow wider by the month, global influence that is being challenged on every front, sudden crises that appear exactly when the country seems at its most powerful. The Ethiopian tradition is clear. These are not random events. They are the early signs of the pruning Isaiah 18 foretold. The moment before the harvest, when the bud looks perfect, but the blade is already positioned. This alignment is why many pastors refuse to touch this chapter. The parallels are too precise, the timing too close. The Ge'ez manuscripts do not allow comfortable distance. They demand attention. And right now, in real time, the pieces described over 2,700 years ago are falling into place. The pieces described over 2,700 years ago are falling into place. If you have ears to hear, this is your moment. Comment truth below right now if this prophecy is striking something deep in your spirit. Let the algorithm and every viewer watching know that you see it. The Ethiopian canon has preserved this warning for centuries while the Western Church stayed silent. You are now part of the remnant that is waking up to what most pastors refuse to preach. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications. This is not regular content. This is ancient intelligence briefing on end-time prophecy that the world is desperately trying to ignore. Every new part I release will go deeper. More details from the Ge'ez manuscripts, more alignments with current events, and more of what the Ethiopian scholars have known for 1,600 years. You do not want to miss what comes next. The pruning is not coming. It has already begun. Stay locked in. The truth is being uncovered here. The pruning is not coming. It has already begun. Stay locked in. The truth is being uncovered here. Before we close, here are powerful curiosities from the Ethiopian tradition that most people have never heard. Details that make this prophecy even more sobering. The Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church still uses the complete 81-book Bible in Ge'ez, the same ancient language of the prophets. Their version of Isaiah 18 has extra layers of commentary passed down orally from monk to monk for over 1,600 years. Ethiopian scholars link the vessels of bulrushes, papyrus boats, to modern swift ships and aircraft carriers that cross oceans in days, something impossible in Isaiah's time. They point out that America is the only major world power whose national symbol is an eagle with outstretched wings, exactly matching land shadowing with wings. No other nation fits this description so precisely. Ancient Ge'ez texts mention that this nation would be divided by rivers, both physically and spiritually in the last days, a fracture so deep that brother turns against brother. One of the oldest Ethiopian commentaries, preserved in the monasteries of Lalibela, warns that the pruning will be visible to the whole world through signs in the heavens and distress of nations, exactly what we see in current global tensions and internal chaos. Unlike Western interpretations that try to place Isaiah 18 in ancient Africa, Ethiopian tradition has always taught this was reserved for a future superpower beyond Kush. These are not modern inventions. These are teachings guarded in cliff monasteries while empires rose and fell. The final message from the Ethiopian canon is clear. This is not the time to be distracted. This is the time to get right with God, to seek His face, and to stand firm as the pruning unfolds. The land shadowed with wings has been warned. The question is no longer if, but how each of us will respond when the branches begin to fall. If this message woke something in you, comment truth and share it with someone who needs to hear it. This is Ancient Prophecy Meeting Real Time. Stay awake. Stay